Okay. Hey, Richard, how are you?
Pretty good, Doug. How are you?
Oh, doing fine, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Let's see. You're an author. Do you also have a publishing company?
Yeah, I co-own a publishing company with Jim Christina called Tuscany Bay Books. It's something we combined to start a couple of years ago. He and I both had our own publishing imprints. Mine was Tuscany Bay Publishing, and his was Black Dog Publishing. And when we got together, we decided to make Tuscany Bay Books. And if you look at our logo, you see, if you look at the full moon on the logo, you'll see the initials BDP. And we wanted to keep both of our companies, still under one umbrella. So we put the BDP in the moon just to keep Black Dog alive.
Okay. So, your publishing company, are you kind of a hybrid publishing company?
We're more of a small publishing company that we'd like to see grow a little bit bigger, but that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. But we do everything. We do audiobooks, we do ebooks, we do paperback. We're now getting into hardback uh, printing because not only is Amazon offering that, but there are other printing companies that you can go with to get the hardcover books. So we're small, but we're actually looking to expand. And who knows? In a few years, we might. I don't know if we'll ever be in the big five, but I think we will be up there.
Well, one of the reasons that I ask is because I've had a couple of other people on the show who were running what they called hybrid publishing companies, which is something in between. It's kind of a new idea, I think. It is something in between the big five, like you mentioned, and totally self publishing on Amazon,
Right.
where you guys do offer services to authors if they want to pay. It's sort of a la carte. Like if they need
Hmm.
somebody to do their cover art for them, you can have somebody for that. Editing, you could have somebody for that.
Well, what we do is we do the cover. We set you up with an editor. We help you get an editor because you want your manuscript preferably edited pretty well before you submit to any publisher. But we also run it through another editor for a final edit. We set it up for that. But the cover, the formatting, and everything that's kind of taken care of by us. And then we do the traditional royalty rates based on how many books you sell. And we've done some where one person will come in and they'll say, I want to do my first book with you, see how it's done, and then I want to go off and do my own publishing. Our first author we signed was signed up that way. It was I'm going to blow his last name. I'm not even going to try it. He published Timeless with us. It was a nonfiction book about paranormal. And then once the 1 year contract ran out, he took his next books and did it himself. So we're set up to do that. And if that's something you want to do, we'll definitely help you. And if it's something where you want us to do all the publishing work for beyond a year, that's something we can do too. So we kind of can fall under the description of being hybrid, but we want to be more a traditional publisher that we don't have gatekeeping. We look at everything that comes in, and we decide, is it something that's marketable, that will sell, obviously, but we want to be as helpful to the authors as we can.
You mentioned gatekeeping, and I suspect at the big five they have many, many gatekeepers. What do you
Hmm.
suspect the percentages of manuscripts that come in to the big five go straight into the bin before they're even read?
I've never worked for a big five, so my numbers could be off, but I would not be surprised to see it around 95%.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say 90%.
Just from what I'm hearing from other people who have worked at the bigger publishers, and some of the rumors fly around everywhere, and you take those with a grain of salt. But yeah, some of the reactions I see from agents and from people who work for the publishers whose job it is to go through, I would not be surprised for it to be somewhere between 90 and 95%, just based on what I've heard.
Well, that's an encouraging figure for up and coming
Isn't
authors,
it
isn't it?
though? Yeah. But that's where Amazon, as much as I kind of get on their case for some of the things they do, Amazon opened the door for indie authors. And for
Yeah.
me, it was, I consider myself an indie author, even though I have my own publishing company, because that's basically set up to help others. I still do my own publishing. If I write it and I want to publish it, it goes. And I do it all off on my own. I've got it all set up. And that was the big appeal to me, was to be able to have control over the process of, my second book was, here's the cover, deal with it. That doesn't go over well with me. So I want to be able to have a say in the cover. I had to rewrite my first book a little bit to get it published traditionally. I don't have to now, so I have that freedom. Yeah, there's a lot of extra work, but at the end of the day, there's a lot more satisfaction, and I get more of the money. And that was the big thing that a lot of authors don't realize, is that you are paying your publisher, and if you have an agent, you wind up paying them about 90% of what your book brings in on royalties. So you get the remaining 10%. As an indie, you get everything that Amazon sends you if you only go Amazon, and there's other channels to sell your books. So you get 100% of what you have earned with your writing by going indie, and that to me is a big selling point, and was one of the reasons why I made the jump to indie in 2017.
Well, plus the control, you have
Mm-hmm.
control over it. You don't have to rewrite things to fit into a specific genre. There's a whole list of stuff that you get being an indie in terms of artistic control and your own destiny, controlling your own destiny, basically.
And you don't get asked to change your characters to fit a certain demographic
Right.
they're going to shoot for. That
Exactly.
drives me nuts. It's like, tell your story the way you want to, and let's publish it.
Exactly.
And there's enough stories out there for everybody. So we shouldn't be making authors completely rewrite their vision to fit what some bean counter has decided this is what will sell if you write it this way. I don't.
Absolutely.
I disagree with that.
Yeah. Let's shift gears here. Let's get to your book. Your book is called Galen's Way.
Galen's Way.
Oh, Galen's Way. Okay. And I'm going to guess it's a science fiction of some sort.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a science fiction space opera.
Okay. A space opera. I've been hearing that term quite a bit. Is that like a soap opera that takes place in space?
Well, actually, in a way, yeah, it is. Basically, with space opera, what you're going to get is you're going to get the epic space battles. You're going to get the political intrigue. You've got great empires either in place that are being toppled by a rebellion, or you're getting an empire that wants to rise, and you have a resistance that's trying to stop it. You've got there's romance, obviously, in a space opera. If you think the original Star Wars movie, that space opera, maybe at its best, I think. Mine doesn't have the space wizards. I think that's another aspect of space opera that people want to put in there. But yeah, it's just a form of science fiction that is kind of told on a grand epic scale, and that's Galen's Way is the first book of the Starquest saga, and this is going to be a multi-author endeavor. It was originally created by John C. Wright, and he opened the door for any author who wants to come in and play in his sandbox. And it was just, luck of the draw. I managed to get my book done first, and we went ahead and released it. John's books will be out in a few months. I think he's maybe looking into the year or first of next year. When we get done with this thing in the next couple of years, I think people are going to agree it's very, very space opera and very grand in its scope.
You mentioned multi-author, and I've always been intrigued by that. How do you get a group of people together to write one book, presumably, or one story? It might be 5 books, but it's one story.
Right.
And keep the continuity of the character. In other words, the character has to have a certain persona, But changing authors could very easily change the persona of the character.
Well, there's two different ways to that works. And let me duck my head real quick. If you look at that book, Last Lonely Trail, that was written by myself and Jim Christina. That's a one book, one off. And we were fortunate that we were able to work together, and our writing styles meshed as we were writing it, to the point where you can't tell which of us wrote which chapter. And that just takes a lot of, being able to adjust to what the other person's done the chapter before, and incorporate it in what you're doing. And there's obviously a lot of talk back and forth. It's like, I want to do this. And so you keep that in mind as you're writing your chapter, and you set it up for him for his next chapter to go where he wants to go. With something like Galen's Way, where it's multiple authors, multiple books, it's a lot different process. And it helps in this case that John sat down and he created the entire universe in a Bible that I believe right now is about 100 pages in length. And he distributes the Bible out. If an author comes in and says, I want to play in the sandbox, he'll send you that. And you had better study this, because he has laid out exactly how the human race is wound up in the Andromeda Galaxy, the history of the human race in the Andromeda Galaxy, to cover all what he calls ages. There's 12 ages in this. And what happens in each age, what species are where in each age, where they're at in the galaxy, when each species bumps into each other. So he's got this all laid out. So he's got a very nice foundation built for us, as long as we study everything and make sure we stay within the boundaries he has set for those particular ages. My work is going to be in the fourth age. And I picked that because the human race still thinks they're the only species in the entire universe. They haven't run into all the other species out in Andromeda yet. So that I could just focus on the people I wanted to focus on. John's writing in 12th, and he's got the entire history, and he's got all these species that are going to be interacting with each other. So his 4 books are just going to be massive. I can't wait to read them, actually, when he gets done with them. Mine are going to be a little bit more tightly focused on the human race during the fourth age, leading up to the point when they find out they're a very small fish in a very big pond, and things aren't going to be so great for them after that point, for a little bit. There's other authors who are coming in, and it's basically they read the Bible and they figure out, okay, this is the age, I have a story idea that will work. And so they will map the story out, they'll write the story, and then we all send it in to John and his wife Jaji, who's kind of Starquest Central for us. And she reviews it, goes over it with John, and then they'll let you know if you're okay, if you're within the boundaries, or if something needs to be changed. I had to make a couple of adjustments in Galen's Way because there's stuff coming up later that would be in conflict with it. So it helps to have that foundation. It helps to have somebody who's going to be kind of our central command, who can make sure that we're not getting out, too far in the weeds, and we're not setting something up where somebody's going to be in trouble a little later down the line. So it's a lot of work, but just from what I'm hearing from the others and from what I've got set up, I have 4 books set up in fourth age. I'm going to be doing some pre-migration stories. So I think we're going to have this vast, millions of years spanning saga that people are going to be able to get into. And what's going to be nice is you can get into it at any point you want to. You don't have to do it linear. And it's all going to make sense as you read each book.
We've got just about 2 minutes left. Can you want to give us just like a 1-minute synopsis, just like a teaser for the book, without giving it all away, because we want people to buy it?
What I've been using online is that Galen Dwyn is the Andromeda Galaxy's most feared mercenary. He's been hired to rescue a kidnapped princess. For her love, he will stand against an evil empire about to be born. And there you go.
That does sound a little like the first Star Wars.
Yep. Think of Galen Duin as Han Solo, only not so happy-go-lucky.
Oh, all right.
We'll put it to you that way. Galen's an interesting character, and he's going to have a very good growth arc. The princess he rescues is going to be a very strong character as well. But I keep telling people to keep your eye on the AI from Galen's ship. Her name is Cassandra, and I think people are going to be surprised at her story arc.
All right. Well, I think we'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
We do have to wrap this up. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
I do. It's www.sci-fiscribe.com. That's SCIFISCRIBE. I have trouble spelling it. Or you can torture yourself and go just type in my name.com and hope you don't, throw too many vowels in that don't belong in there. So Sci-Fi Scribe is usually the easiest one. I have a blog there. You can actually purchase and download my books directly from the website. You can order print and hardcover copies of my books from the website. Anything I'm up to is going to be on that website, so you can kind of keep track of what's going on there.
Super. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. It was nice meeting you. Nice talking to you.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
And best of luck with the book. I hope it does well.
Thank you. Well, I've got to get back to writing the next 7, so I guess I better get to it.
All right.